Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup, the show where we round up all of the latest news in the world of movies. Nerdy movies, to be specific. We got a bunch of content to get through today. Like, there was CinemaCon that happened, and they dropped a whole bunch of information on that, so we're going to go through it all. And yeah, let's just jump right into it, I suppose. So, first up, we got an official teaser trailer for Joker Folie à Deux. I don't know exactly how you pronounce that. It's in French, but Joker 2. I think that this was a very good trailer. My big question about a Joker sequel is just, is this a movie, or I should say, did they actually have an idea for this movie? Or is it simply a case of the first movie, which was supposed to be a standalone film, made $1 billion. Of course, we're going to make another one. And going into this trailer, I don't know, I can't necessarily snuff out exactly like what the message of the movie is going to be, or anything like that, or what like the grander vision of it is. But it looks neat. I mean, you know, in terms of the cinematography, I love all of the like the musical segments where the world is fantastical and it seems to be all a part of Arthur Fleck's imagination, or maybe both him and Harley's imagination, right? Because what is it? I think Folie à Deux means a shared madness or something in French. And yeah, and speaking of Harley, I think what they're doing with Harley also seems super intriguing. Kind of seems like they're subverting the Joker and Harley dynamic. You know, everybody loves it when they subvert people's expectations, especially when Rian Johnson does it. But it seems like Harley is going to be the one that's like manipulating Joker to a certain extent, or at the very least, we kind of see her like enabling him to become the Joker. Because I wonder if at the beginning of this movie, Arthur Fleck is just kind of chilling in the asylum, and he's like, because when we look at the first movie, actually, Arthur Fleck, like a lot of what happens in like the uprising that he inspired is like that was all by accident, right? So I think it would make a lot of sense if like once he's in the asylum after he gets arrested, like he's not gonna like just turn into a supervillain. And it seems like Harley is like, she's the one that's like initiating the initial interaction with the, you know, with the blow to the head, kind of raising him up there. And then like you see when they're watching the movie there, she's like, oh, let's get out of here. And then obviously at the end, like she, you know, we have the image here. She like draws the lipstick on the window, and she tells him like, I want to see the real you, or something like that. Like it almost seems like where instead of the Joker is kind of manipulating Harley and pushing her to become a psychopath, it seems like in this movie, Harley is kind of pushing Arthur Fleck into fully embracing the Joker persona and everything that comes along with that. So I think that's super interesting. And like I said, in the first movie, Arthur Fleck isn't really the Joker, right? Like he's not. Oh, Jesus. Whoa. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Yeah, like Arthur Fleck isn't really the Joker. He's not like he's not a criminal mastermind with a master plan. So he's not manipulating Harley to doing anything. Oh, the other difference is that it doesn't seem like Harley is a psychiatrist in this either. It seems like she's just another patient. So yeah, like I just don't think that Arthur Fleck would realistically be able to do what Joker does to Harley traditionally in the animated series and in the comic books. So I think all the changes that they're making here I think they make a lot of sense. And yeah, it all definitely makes me intrigued about the movie. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully they deliver. Next trailer. We got a trailer for Star Wars Outlaws. Of course, this is the upcoming open world Ubisoft Star Wars game. We're playing as this character here. Kay Vess, I think is her name. And she basically, when you watch the trailer, and by the way, it's the official story trailer that they put out. So there was a gameplay demo like last year. And she basically seems a bit like a female Han Solo character, where she's a bit of a scoundrel. You know, we see her like making deals and with criminals and stuff like that. Although we don't really see that in the story trailer. We saw that in the gameplay demo from last year. But she's kind of like a female Han Solo character, although I don't think she doesn't seem to be like as confident as Han Solo. I feel like she feels more Nathan Drake to me than a Han Solo. Where like Nathan Drake has that like awkward charm. That's kind of what Kay Vess seems to have, where she's kind of like whoa, like, oh, I'm kind of scrappy and I'm scraping by all of these intense situations. So I actually think the character looks super cute. I really like her, from what I've seen so far. And that being said, though, the trailer does seem a little generic, where it honestly looks like this is going to be a good version of the of the Han Solo movie, where she's like, it's like, oh, if I do this one heist, if I can accomplish this one heist, then my life will change forever. And it's like, yeah, we saw that with the Han Solo movie. So the story doesn't necessarily look like incredible to me, but I think what we're really here for is just an open world Star Wars game, the promise of what that could be. And yeah, that's definitely something that I'm into. And the story doesn't look bad by any means. But honestly, like, I don't think this story trailer is going to convince anybody on the game. If you haven't, you should definitely look up that gameplay demonstration, because in that gameplay demo, it's like we see her in like an Empire base, and she like steals something, and then the stormtroopers catch her, and so you're like running out of the base. You get on your speeder bike, and you start like driving away, and they're chasing you kind of like in a GTA sort of fashion. And then she like takes the thing over to the people that she's making a deal with, and so then she like and then she makes a deal with them, and then she decides to betray them for whatever reason. And then the really cool part was, after she betrayed them, that those guys were chasing after her, and so she has to like run to the ship. And I don't think this has ever been done before in a Star Wars game. People can correct me if I'm wrong, but she gets into her ship, and she just flies off into space, like in real time. She just flies off into space. Although there is kind of like a cutscene, but they do a really good job of, or not a cutscene, a loading screen. But they do a really good job of hiding the loading screen to where I don't know that counts. Like we're basically in real time. She flies up into space and she escapes. And it's like, look up that gameplay demonstration. Like that's really the main appeal of the game. And then hopefully on top of that, there's a good story. But based on the story trailer, I think the story seems like it's going to be serviceable enough that it's that like the open world, the dream of an open world Star Wars game seems to be that's what it's going to make this game super compelling. So we'll see though. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I know there's some controversy surrounding it. Like they're doing the thing that some other games have done, where it's like if you want to play the game 3 days early, you can pay like $130, and you get some others like content as well. And it's like this weird thing that the games industry is trying to do, where they obviously want to raise game prices. So they're like, now the game costs $70, but if you want to pay $120, you can get the game early. When it's like, no, motherfucker, you're releasing the game on the day that you could purchase it for $120, and it costs $120, and then you're lowering the price after a couple of days, like to $70. Like it's like this weird like language semantics game that they're trying to play where they're like, we're not raising prices, but it's like they really are. And it's like, if you just want to wait a little bit, then you can get it for $70. I don't know. It's really weird. I totally understand people getting like outraged about that. There's also this other controversy where people are saying that this character is ugly, which is like, guys, what are we even talking about? Or that she looks like a man, and I'm like, we have completely lost the plot when it comes to like culture war discourse and media, and it's so stupid. But I'm looking forward to the game. I think it's gonna be fun. But we'll see. All right. Next up, let's talk about Superman Legacy a bit here. So, this is an interesting story because we technically haven't known who the villain of the movie was gonna be. Like, it was never explicitly said, I don't think. And now Superman has, or not not Superman, James Gunn has confirmed who it's gonna be. This is a thread post that he made. The primary protagonist of Superman is, shockingly, Superman. The main villain of Superman is, shockingly, Lex Luthor. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from that it's something other than this. There are so many stories coming out every day, it's difficult to deal with, and every time I strike something down, I'm giving it attention. So I'll say again, don't believe anything unless you see it here. And why would you want to know everything before the movie comes out anyway? So, yeah, I guess there was some rumors about it maybe not being Lex Luthor, and it being another character. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even see those rumors. But I mean, yeah, this makes sense. Like, it's like, yeah, the movie's filming, and they never announced any other casting that would indicate that it's anybody other than Lex Luthor. So yeah, Lex Luthor is the main antagonist of Superman Legacy. It's not Magento or whatever. What's his name? Brainiac? What am I even saying? Isn't there like a Superman villain with a name similar to like Magento, or it's not Magneto, obviously. Okay, I don't even know what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not like it's not Doomsday or anybody like that. It's just Lex Luthor. Although I'm sure Lex Luthor is gonna make like giant robots or something to fight Superman. Yeah, I mean, with that, I mean, it really is. I guess the only thing I'm looking for is a more creative threat than just, oh, Lex Luthor mined kryptonite. Like, I don't know. I am hoping for something more creative. I'm also open to just having a Superman that's not as powerful. Like, in my adventures with Superman, it was like, yeah, they made, like, one of the villains made an he just made an exoskeleton suit that could fight Superman. It's like, yeah, they're like giant robots that can just fight Superman, and he's not like actually like indestructible. And I kind of hope they go that way for this Superman, like, because yeah, I mean, it is the case that when you get to like, you know, like the Henry Cavill Superman where he's actually just indestructible, it makes it a lot difficult, or a lot more difficult to actually have a threat against him. So we'll see how they handle it, though. All right. So next up, let's talk about Daredevil Born Again. It seems like the old actress for Vanessa that was recast has now been recast again to the original actress. So yeah, there's a set photo where she's back and she's talking to Fisk. And this is such a weird situation. It's like, what were they doing to, I really want to see the original iteration of the show. Like, how did they fuck it up so hard that they had to completely scrap production on it and restart, and now they're bringing back the original Vanessa actress. I mean, I guess I understand that they recasted a bunch of the roles because I guess the original one probably wasn't operating under the assumption that, like, the old Netflix Marvel shows, like, I think how do I put this? I think when they made the original version of the show, I don't think that the Netflix Marvel shows were canon to the MCU. Now they've reevaluated everything, and now the Netflix shows are canon to the MCU. So when you do that, you kind of have to bring everybody back now, right? You can't just recast like that. So because I think it was weird as well, because I think they cast like an Asian lady as Vanessa. So I think it's cool. I think she's great in the role. So hopefully we get some good content or something. All right. Next up, Robert Downey Jr. He's talking about returning to the MCU. This is coming from Esquire. How about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Would he ever return to it as an Academy Award winner? Happily. It's too integral a part of my DNA. That role chose me. And look, I always say never, ever bet against Kevin Feige. It is a losing bet. He's the house. He will always win. So, what's interesting about this is that we've never really seen Robert Downey Jr. like emphatically say that he wants to come back to the MCU. Like every time they've talked to him, or every time he's been asked about it, it's always like something like oh, I love Iron Man. It's it's such an important role to my life, but I've put it behind me. Or we had such an amazing ending for the character. Endgame was such an incredible moment. I would never want to tarnish that legacy, and blah 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 blah. Very interesting that now we're getting Robert Downey Jr. going like, oh yeah, well, I'd love to be in the MCU again. What are you talking about? I've never said anything to the contrary. And it's like, okay. I would imagine that based on this reaction, I think that there have been talks. I think there have been talks. I think they've probably already signed a deal. I think Robert Downey Jr. is he's coming back now. I think he was always going to be back one way or the other, because it's like when you get to like fucking Secret Wars and it's this stupid multiverse bullshit. It's like, of course Robert Downey Jr. is going to be a part of that. And I don't necessarily think that they're going to like bring our Tony Stark back from the dead, but I think like another Tony Stark from a different universe played by Robert Downey Jr. is going to show up in Secret Wars at the very least. So yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. I think he's coming back. All right, next up we have a filming window for Peacemaker. So this is a part of a video, so we'll play the video here.
I have some more branding stuff to do before I leave for Europe to finish a movie that we started filming before the strike called Heads of State with Priyanka Chopra and Idris Elba. And then straight from that to Peacemaker Season 2. Let's go. That'll take us through just about Christmas, and I'm crossing my fingers and toes and my heart that maybe, just maybe, I can tell the Hollywood world to pump the brakes for a while and come back to my family for one last run. Let's go. Oh my God.
Okay, so that's super fascinating, actually. So obviously, yes, Peacemaker Season 2, they're gonna start filming soon, and filming is gonna go up until Christmas. So probably means that we're probably not gonna see the show until mid to late 2025. That seems pretty safe, I would say. The other interesting thing is that he says that once he's done filming Peacemaker Season 2, that's going to be it for Hollywood for a while, which I think is kind of telling us that Peacemaker's not necessarily going to be a major player in the DCU, at least not for a little bit after his second season comes out, which I think is a little surprising, I guess. I mean, obviously Peacemaker is not like a super powerful character that's going to join the Justice League or whatever, but I would assume that he would be like that he would show up in other people's shows, and he would end up showing up in movies and stuff like that, but I guess that's not necessarily going to be the case. So we'll see. Of course, like if he says he's gonna do one last run of WWE, I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean like for like an entire year he's just gonna be doing like WWE stuff? Does that mean that he's gonna is a run on WWE like 3 or 4 months? I don't know. So I mean, maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe he is just gonna do his WWE thing, and then he'll show up in other DCU projects after that. We'll see. Well, we'll see. But we know that Peacemaker Season 2 is in the DCU. So we'll see what happens with that. All right, next up, let's talk about Fallout Season 2. We're going to talk about what I think of the show so far later on in the episode. But let's talk about the possibilities of a Season 2. So this is coming from Deadline. Just days before its debut, Fallout looks to be assured a second season thanks to a $25 million tax credit from California. Officially, Amazon has not said yet that the Prime Video series is coming back, but with some hints from executive producers Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan recently, it's pretty clear the money is doing the talking here, receiving one of the largest allocations ever from the program for a relocating series. The LA set post-apocalyptic drama is among a dozen shows awarded $152 million in incentives. So yeah, it looks like the state of California is giving Amazon like incentives to shoot shows here, or not here. I don't I don't live in California. To shoot shows there, and Fallout is one of those shows. All I'll say is that I'm really enjoying the show so far. I assume it's going to be a hit just because it's good, and there was already a lot of initial interest in it. So I think there was going to be a season 2 regardless. But yeah, I mean, if with California dropping this big of a tax incentive, I have to assume that, yeah, for sure, it's going to happen. All right, next story. You know nothing, Jon Snow, but Jon Snow. So there was a show that's been talked about for years at this point. Looks like it's not happening. It's coming from Screen Rant. And currently it's not. Currently it's off the table because we all couldn't find the right story to tell that we were all excited about enough. So we decided to lay down tools with it for the time being. There may be a time in the future where we return to it, but at the moment, no. It's firmly on the shelf, and that's from Kit Harington via Screen Rant. Honestly, I don't really need a Jon Snow show. I mean, like, I think HBO is, they're really running the risk here of overstimulating the market with Game of Thrones, because House of the Dragon is a thing, and that's really good and it's doing great. But they're also doing that, like, the Hedge Knight, the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms show, which is like another Game of Thrones show. We're also getting like 2 other animated Game of Thrones series. So it's like we have 4 shows that are being developed right now, and it's like I don't think we need a Jon Snow show on top of that. Like I don't think that there's much reason to do it, especially if what he's saying in that they couldn't find the right story. I mean, especially at that point, don't make it. But yeah, I honestly don't feel too strongly about this. Would I watch a Jon Snow show? Sure, but I'm not like hankering for it. And yeah, honestly, shout out to HBO because I think after season 8 of Game of Thrones, after season 8 of Game of Thrones, they seem to be under the mindset of, if we're not making something great, we're not making it at all. And because before House of the Dragon, there was another like Game of Thrones pilot that they shot that they just scrapped. They were like, nah, not good enough. So that's honestly, shout outs to them, because most studios are like, just put it out anyways, who cares? But yeah, let's move on to the next story. So apparently there is a G.I. Joe cross Transformers movie in the works. Does that sound silly? Yes, it does. Let's get into it. This is from CBR. Paramount Pictures confirmed an upcoming crossover film between the Transformers and G.I. Joe franchises as of April 11th. CBR was present when the news was announced during the studio's presentation at CinemaCon in Las Vegas. So yeah, I mean, okay. I'm not really a Transformers or a G.I. Joe fan. And I will say that this does, I can kind of smell the desperation from this announcement, because G.I. Joe's never really a franchise that's gotten off the ground when it comes to like movies and stuff, and like live action movies. And the popularity of the live action Transformers movies have really taken a dip in recent years, where I think the last 2 Transformers movies haven't even crossed $500 million at the box office. So this honestly does, I can smell the desperation here of maybe trying to like juice up both of these franchises. And I just don't know how are the G.I. Joe not just going to be the human soldiers from that we've already had in the Transformers movies? Like, Are they gonna have like Snake Eyes take out Decepticons and stuff like that? I mean that could be cool if they manage to find a way to make that work that doesn't seem completely unbelievable. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, next up. Paramount also announced at CinemaCon that we are getting a live action R-rated The Last Ronin movie. So this is coming from The Hollywood Reporter. Paramount is developing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin, adapting a popular storyline seen in the recent IDW comics as a live-action feature with the intent of making it for an R rating. Tyler Burden Smith, who co-wrote the upcoming R-rated action movie Boy Kills World, and who wrote the 2019 iteration of Chucky horror franchise Child's Play, is penning the script. All right, so this is pretty surprising news. I mean, you know, they're already working on like their like what was it? Teenage TMNT Mutant Mayhem franchise, right? Like their animated series is kind of underway. Yeah, this is pretty surprising that they're also making a live action TMNT movie that's going in a completely different direction, but honestly, it's a welcome surprise. I think this could be really cool. So I've never actually read the Last Ronin comic book, but from what I understand is it's basically in like a post-apocalyptic future, or I don't know if it's post-apocalyptic. It might not be. It might just be like a bit of a dystopian future. But it's basically set in the future, and I believe that the Last Ronin is the last remaining Ninja Turtle because the other Ninja Turtles have been killed off. And I think it's part of the mystique of the film is that, or of the comic book, is that you don't actually know who the last Ninja Turtle is. Like, you don't know if it's Mikey or Donatello or Raphael or Michelangelo. And I think it's like a big moment in the comic when they finally reveal who it is. So there's like an intriguing element to that. Yeah, I mean, this could be really cool because we're also getting a Last Ronin video game, by the way. Like, they're also making that. So Paramount is they're milking that Ninja Turtle cow, trying to suck up all the teat that it can, or suck up all the milk out of the teat that it can. So hopefully this turns out good. I mean, I think there's a lot of potential here, and yeah, I think if you're gonna make a live action Ninja Turtles movie, you definitely should differentiate it from the animated stuff that they're doing, and this is definitely one way to do that. So we'll have to wait and see. All right. We also have some more information on Transformers 1, which is an upcoming animated Transformers movie. This is not an image from the upcoming movie. This is from one of the Transformers cartoons, because we don't have any images of the Transformers movie. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. Chris Hemsworth, shared that he plays Orion Pax, a young Optimus Prime, and is poised to reveal a side of this character that audiences haven't seen before. The superstar then welcomed his brother-in-arms, Brian Tyree Henry, who is D16, a young Megatron. He promised an origin story in Transformers, one that is not like nothing you've ever seen on the big screen before. Adding, this origin story is how they transformed from brothers-in-arms to sworn enemies. Scarlett Johansson is Alita 1 with Keegan-Michael Key as B-127, with Steve Buscemi, Lawrence Fishburne, and John Hamm rounding out the cast. Transformers 1 hits theaters September 13th. So this is very interesting. We've known about this movie, but I can't remember if they've explicitly said that it's gonna be specifically about Optimus Prime and Megatron going from being friends to being enemies. You know, kind of a Magneto Charles Xavier situation, I guess. And yeah, I here's the thing. I've completely fallen off the Transformers movies. I haven't seen like the last 3, maybe 4 of them. So I'm actually completely open to an animated Transformers movie that I can just jump into without having to have followed all of the garbage movies that they've been making. And yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a Spider-Verse situation where they come in and make an animated movie and it just completely blows us all away. I will say, I mean, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I would say a red flag is that they've seemingly just cast a bunch of celebrities in this movie instead of going out and getting like trained voice actors that, you know, do this for a living and not just like celebrities that sometimes can voice act, sometimes can't. So that is a bit of a red flag, but hopefully it's good. And yeah, speaking of animated movies, let's move on to Aang the Last Airbender. They have officially announced what the title of the first Avatar the Last Airbender film is going to be. So this is coming from Variety. Bautista and Eric Nam are set to headline the voice cast for the upcoming Avatar the Last Airbender movie. The film's working title is Aang the Last Airbender. Plot details for the film remain under wraps. Bautista will voice a villain character. The new Avatar animated film is set for release on October 10th, 2025 from Paramount. Lauren Montgomery, who worked on the original Avatar The Last Airbender series, is directing the project, with original series creators Michael DiMartino and Brian Konietzko executive producing. So yeah, I think they're doing the smart thing, and they are launching Avatar Studios, like they're releasing their first project, and they're not fucking around. They're doing an Aang movie. They're bringing back, you know, I assume we're gonna get like all the original characters, like Sokka and Katara and Toph and Zuko, and yeah, I think this is super smart, right? Like you launch and you lead with your strongest your strongest pieces. And yeah, I mean, I know there's like comic books and stuff that have come that take place after the original series and that have continued that story. I wonder if they mind that at all, and that's maybe this movie like adapts that kind of some of that material, or maybe they come out and they make their own story. I mean, that could be viable as well. But I'm definitely excited to get an Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, and the fact that they're releasing it in theaters is definitely awesome. Like I think that's really cool. Because yeah, the thing aside from this, I think the other Avatar projects that have been confirmed are, or the one project that's been confirmed is that I believe we're getting just like a new Avatar series, with like a new Avatar probably set in the future past Korra. So we're gonna get that as well, and I assume we're gonna get a bunch of other projects as well, because there's literally like they started an Avatar Studios that's just making Avatar The Last Airbender content. Although I will say, along with Game of Thrones, hopefully they don't oversaturate the market. I mean, that's an important thing as well, and hopefully these projects are of quality. Yeah. I also think that these projects, I think, play a lot, or at least should play a big factor in people not being too upset about the Netflix series, because it's like whether you like or dislike it, if you dislike it, it's like, yeah, well, you're getting content from the original Avatar creators still, so everybody calm down, I guess, when it comes to the Netflix series. But yeah, we'll see how that movie comes out. All right, next up, let's talk about Captain America: Brave New World. So we got some pictures from it from Entertainment Weekly. So we have this picture here, which is just the full version of what we were just looking at. And yeah, so it looks like he's just like in a place, and he's holding the shield. It's Captain America right there, I guess. This one is a lot more interesting. So he's standing along in front of Thunderbolt Ross, who, yes, if you don't know, Harrison Ford is playing Thunderbolt Ross in this movie, and this is definitely a cooler picture. And then we also have some information about the footage that was shown at CinemaCon. So again, they showed this at CinemaCon. I'm gonna read just like a description of what they showed. If you don't want to know what it is, because it's nothing too spoilery. I don't consider it to be, but you might just want to skip this segment. But we're going to start reading it now. Not only that, he's Anthony Mackie here to assemble a new team of Avengers, revealed in the CinemaCon sneak peek. Ross welcomes Sam to the White House. thanking him for his past heroic actions. Though he admits he isn't too fond of superheroes, he says even he can recognize Sam's goodwill and tasks the military veteran with reforming Earth's mightiest heroes. But as they soon realize, there's a leak in Ross's inner circle. A strange sound, an old timely song, interrupts Ross's presentation at a White House event, triggering sleeper super soldiers in the room to attack the president, including Carl Lumbly's Isaiah Bradley. Returning from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Mackie doesn't believe Marvel fans need to rewatch The Incredible Hulk to prepare for Brave New World. This movie is a clear reset. It really reestablishes the idea of what this universe is and what this universe is going to be, Mackie says. I think with these movies, you're getting a clear, new branding of what Marvel is headed towards, the same way they did with Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So yeah, interesting stuff there. I think the big notable thing from what the Entertainment Weekly article was talking about was that apparently we're finally going to get some indication of what the future of the Avengers is in this universe, because one of the big problems post Endgame is that we don't even have a core group of Avengers that the universe is centering on. It's like it's just all been a bunch of random stuff that's been thrown out, and we don't have your core group of characters that the universe centers on, and I think that's been a real problem with the MCU post Endgame. So hopefully we start getting to some kind of resolution to that post Endgame, or sorry, in this movie. The other interesting part is that obviously Sam Wilson and Thunderbolt Ross, it seems like they're going to have a bit of a tense relationship, but still, it seems like Thunderbolt Ross still respects Sam to some extent. And the other, I would say, red flag here for me at least is I don't love the idea of them of past super soldiers going bad, just because it's like that's just the Winter Soldier again, isn't it? I mean, that might not be like the major focus of the movie, right? Like, hopefully, or it's entirely possible that that's just like one scene, and that the other villains are a lot more creative than just the Winter Soldier again. And I don't know, I hope like Isaiah Bradley doesn't become like a villain in the movie because he's been mind controlled, because that'd be shitty. It's like, I don't know, I actually really like the way that character ended up, or how they concluded that character in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I thought that was beautiful, and it would be a shame if he just turned out to be like a mind-controlled zombie villain in this. So hopefully it's just that one scene. But yeah, like in other descriptions from what I've heard, and obviously we saw Anthony Mackie make the comparison himself, is that this apparently is going back to that that like fast-paced, grounded political thriller that the Winter Soldier was, to some extent. I mean, obviously it's still a Marvel movie. It's not going to be completely grounded. But yeah, I like that they're returning to the political thriller roots of what sort of, Captain America was at the peak of the franchise, which was the Winter Soldier, at least in most people's opinion. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. And the other thing that they mentioned as well is that Anthony Mackie is saying that people don't really need to go back and rewatch The Incredible Hulk in order to get ready for this, that apparently they kind of reestablished those characters. So that's good to hear as well. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I actually really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I completely recognize the problems that that film had, but or that show had, and I really love what they did in having Sam have to struggle with accepting the responsibility of being Captain America, and the process of him evaluating whether like what it means for like a black man to be Captain America, and that he ultimately, for the betterment of society and of the country, and of just like for the betterment of the country, it's like, it's like we don't have to just live in constant negativity towards the United States. It's like we can fight and strive for a better future. I found the way that they handled it in Falcon and the Winter Soldier was actually really great, because they really made it not just be Steve Rogers just handing the shield to somebody. Like they made it mean something taking on the mantle. So yeah, I'm excited for Captain America 4. The other big worry about the movie is that they've had to reshoot a bunch of it. Were they obviously the movie wasn't good enough at some point. Hopefully it's like, what we're also hoping for with Daredevil Born Again, that this is just all a part of Marvel's like reestablishing of quality in the MCU, and hopefully they were able to do that to Captain America 4, and that it wasn't too far gone to salvage. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, next up, they also showed off the official title card of Thunderbolts. So let's take a look at this because it's very strange. There's an asterisk at the end of it, and I have no idea what that means. Yeah, I honestly have no idea what that means. Like, they were very coy about it as well. Kevin Feige was in the middle of the CinemaCon presentation. I just don't know. I'm trying to think of like a theory of what it could be, of like, maybe it's like a situation where the government presents the Thunderbolts team as like a heroic team of like, hey, look, we're doing good things for America, yay, yippee. But then the asterisk of it is, no, the government's actually using them to do naughty things and cringe and bad things. I wonder if it's something like that. I could see that, like that kind of sounds interesting to me, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. And we're just gonna move on to the next story. All right. So we also saw, they also saw some more footage from Deadpool 3. Yeah, we're just gonna read about it. So if you don't want to hear about it, you can move on to the next topic. It's coming from Deadline. In the 9 minutes shown of the Marvel tentpole, Ryan Reynolds is adjusting to normal life, content to aim for the middle, because you never miss. Miranda Bachran's Valerie is seeing another guy, so we're told. So, I'll be honest. There was like other stuff, but nothing too interesting to talk about. They're just kind of talking about the different jokes that they made. So, I'm actually like cool with. I'm kind of cool on not talking about them because I don't feel the need to like talk about those like joke spoilers, because there's not much interesting to talk about when it comes to them. And it's like, I feel like if anything should be salvaged for a Deadpool movie, it is the jokes. So I don't know, that was a bit of an unnecessary explanation, but there it is. The interesting things that I wanted to talk about is that, yes, Deadpool in Deadpool 3 at the beginning, he's going to have been retired. He's living like a regular life. And then the TVA comes in and sort of drags him out of his retirement. Also seems to be the case that that Vanessa and Wade have broken up, which is kind of sad. And that apparently she's with another guy. So a lot of the people that were commenting on how their dynamic with each other in the Deadpool 3 trailer was a little tense, you guys were right. Like, yeah, they are in fact broken up. So we'll see. And apparently there was also stuff with Hugh Jackman as well. Like, people saw Hugh Jackman in action for the first time, because in the trailer we really only see like the back of him, his silhouette, and then his back. So yeah, when it comes to Deadpool 3, I'm not nearly as excited for this movie as most other people are. The main thing is that I'm kind of getting sick of Ryan Reynolds. His humor, it's kind of getting grating to me, especially because it feels like he's just like in movies like Red Notice, and like when he pops up in like Hobbs, like weird stuff like Hobbs and Shaw, and he's just doing his whole like, hey, look at me, I'm a plucky guy, everything that I say is sarcastic, and oh, look at me. It's like, it's just getting a little annoying to me. And I understand that is what Deadpool is. So when it comes to Deadpool, he's supposed to do that. But when it hasn't been done well in a bunch of his other projects recently. So hopefully Deadpool is the project where he's all in on it, and like the humor actually works this time. It worked for the most part in the trailer for me, so I will give it that. But the other thing is that I don't really care that much about the Fox X-Men movies. Like, I'm just not super nostalgic for them, so I'm personally not like inherently going to lose my mind because, oh my gosh, we're seeing Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. Oh my gosh, a Cyclops? What? James Marsden is Cyclops? Like, I'm not going to be doing that in the theater. It's not like I don't have that the attachment that I had with like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Like, it's just, I'm not going to have that same innate reaction. Now, hopefully the movie's just good on its own, and that's what ends up carrying the movie for me, but as of right now, I'm not like losing my mind with excitement about it. So we'll see though. I'm obviously Marvel is confident in it. It's the only Marvel movie coming out this year, so hopefully they land the ball in the goal. That's the analogy. All right, moving on from Marvel. J.K. Rowling. Have you ever heard of her? She wrote these books called Harry Potter. They made some pretty successful movies, you know, just billions and billions of dollars later. J.K. Rowling has, as of late, I mean, for like the past like 4 or 5 years, I think, you know, she's been very vocally anti-trans. You know, I'll be totally honest with you. I don't know what her exact position is. I didn't read her fucking trans manifesto that she wrote. That's fine. Like, I also just kind of don't care that much about the whole trans discussion of like, oh, like, is it like, you know, there are some things that I feel pretty strongly about where I'm like, okay, like, if you're a biological man, you probably shouldn't be playing women's sports. You know, like, probably shouldn't be giving like children puberty blockers and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it's like if you're a biological male and you feel more comfortable with boobies, I mean, go and get your boobies. It is what it is. If you're an adult, and you've really thought about it and you're like, I really want to slice it off, you know, down under. I have to go for it. I don't really care. I do think that J.K. Rowling's obsession with the topic, I think it's a little bit like, lady, are you okay? Are you like, Jesus, like, why do you hate these people this much? But again, I'd probably agree with her on a lot of other stuff. Like, we probably agree on like the trans women in sports. I think we probably agree about, you know, not giving like kids like these like weird drugs that, you know, they should probably wait until they're adults before they can decide. So those are my general thoughts about the whole situation. But the reason why I'm bringing it up now is because J.K. Rowling has actually spoken up about Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. And I wonder if this is actually the reason why we've ended up going with why they ended up going with a rebooted HBO Max series, Harry Potter series, as opposed to making sequel movies with the original kids all grown up. So basically, somebody responded to J.K. Rowling on Twitter, and this person is like, just waiting for Dan and Emma to give you a very public apology, safe in the knowledge that you will forgive them, because J.K. Rowling was tweeting about, I guess, some new study that came out saying that puberty blockers are bad. I didn't read the study. I'm not going to speak to it necessarily, but J.K. Rowling responded to him, and she said, not safe, I'm afraid. Celebs who cozied up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights and who use their platforms to cheer on the transitioning of minors can save their apologies for traumatized detransitioners and vulnerable women reliant on single-sex spaces. So, there's J.K. Rowling seemingly disassociating herself from Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, and this seems a little sad to me because, you know, I assume when these kids were growing up, it's like J.K. Rowling was probably like an aunt of some kind to them. You know, like they were probably pretty close, I would assume. And it is always sad to see people not being able to handle when like friends or families have different like political views from them. It's one of these things where it's like I feel like people like acting like politics and social issues are so simple, and that like our point of views are just like so inherently the objectively correct ones, or that it's easy, and that, oh well, if you don't have my point of view then you're just evil. You know, it is sad that society has sort of gone down that road. And yeah, it seems like J.K. Rowling is kind of that perspective. Now, I will say, just to bring it back up, you could also read this tweet as her saying like, well, they don't necessarily need to they don't need to apologize to me. They need to apologize to women, right? So you could maybe read it as that, as her saying like, hey, listen, I'm not necessarily the victim here. Like, I'm a very privileged woman, right? They need to apologize to all the other women that the trans people are hurting or whatever. So you could kind of read it that way, but I mean, that tweet very much tells me that she's kind of disassociated from them. Now, now it is important to bring up as well, what do Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson have to apologize for? Well, this is from like the Hollywood Reporter article. Maybe they said other stuff, but this is what they said. This is Daniel Radcliffe. In 2020, Daniel Radcliffe replied to a Rowling tweet about the issue. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by professional health care associations who have far more expertise on this subject matter than either Joe or I. According to the Trevor Project, 18% of transgender and non-binary youth reported being the subject of discrimination due to their gender identity. It's clear that we need to do more to support transgender and non-binary people. Not invalidate their identities and not cause further harm. And this is what Emma Watson had to say. While Watson tweeted, trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around the world see you, respect you, and love you for who you are. So, when I read that, and again, maybe they said other things. Maybe there were quotes of them saying, J.K. Rowling can go eat my hog or something like that. I don't know. Maybe those other quotes are out there. That's just what the Hollywood Reporter provided. I read that and I'm like, are you really burning the bridge over that? Like, just because they disagree with you on the transgender issue? That seems kind of toxic. And by the way, this is me completely speculating. That I honestly wonder if those comments that Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson made ultimately are the reason why they didn't make sequel movies with the original cast. Because, like this is my thing, right? Like, an HBO Max Harry Potter series, it is going to break, it is going to be massive, right? Like, it's going to be huge for HBO Max. Absolutely. But, like, if you make a Harry Potter movie bringing back the original trio, that movie easily crosses the $1 billion mark, and if it's great, probably makes $2 billion. It just surprised me that they wouldn't go back and bring back that original cast. Like, it kind of shocked me that they didn't do that, and instead opted to make a streaming series that, again, is going to be massive and is going to be big for HBO Max, but it's not going to make as much money as a Harry Potter movie would. So I wonder. I wonder. And that, again, I normally don't talk about this kind of stuff on the channel, but I feel like this sheds maybe some more light on how things ended up in the, in the media that we actually consume. But again, that's just a theory on my part. Maybe I'm completely off base. Maybe they didn't make a sequel series, or maybe they didn't make like a sequel trilogy purely because J.K. Rowling is like kind of fucked up with the Fantastic Beasts movies. Like, we probably just shouldn't be like just creating new stuff when I haven't written books for it yet. Maybe that's the case. Maybe Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe, maybe they just don't want to. Maybe they just don't really feel like coming out or coming back to the roles. Maybe I'm completely off base on reading J.K. Rowling's tweet. Maybe their relationship is actually totally fine. And J.K. Rowling wasn't intending to like burn the bridge with them. I don't know. But I figured I'd talk about it either way. All right. Next next story. Let's talk about some more real life stuff. Remember Gina Carano? So Disney has officially responded to the court case that Gina Carano has launched against them. This is coming from Deadline. This is the court filing. The company detailed the way it all went down fast with Carano in their April 9th filing. Carano's social media usage sunk to its nadir on February 10th, 2021. On that day, she reposted an Instagram post from user Warrior Priest Jim Podcast. The post read, "Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children. Because history is edited, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is it different from hating someone for their political views? Disney had enough. The same day, Carano grotesquely trivialized the Holocaust as comparable to sharp political disagreements, Lucasfilm announced that Gina Carano is not currently employed by Lucasfilm and there are no plans for her to be in the future. Nevertheless, her social media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities are abhorrent and unacceptable. A month later, Disney's former CEO explained that Carano's views didn't align with company values, including its values of respect, values of decency, values of integrity, and values of inclusion. So yeah, I mean, Disney submitted this. They're looking to just get the case thrown out. They're hoping that it doesn't go anywhere. And I gotta reiterate, I don't think that Gina Carano has a case here. I mean, what? Like, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that it is the case that companies can fire you because you say like off-color shit on social media, right? Like, if I were like tweeting out how like N-words should be deported from the country, I could lose my job for that. You know what I mean? Like, we can have a conversation of whether or not Gina Carano's comments were bad enough to warrant a firing, but I think it's totally within Disney's legal right to do so. I don't think that the government can really step in and be like, actually, you're not allowed to have standards for what your employees can or can't say. When it's like, no, the companies can do that. They've been doing that for hundreds of years. And so, yeah, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. I don't know why Gina Carano is even bothering suing Disney over this. Especially like she's asking to be rehired by Disney as a part of this, which I don't think is even like how would that even work? Because we don't even know if the Mandalorian is coming back. It's like the government, I don't think, can just like walk up to Disney and be like, actually, you have to greenlight another season of the Mandalorian so that you can cast Gina Carano in it. I'm like, what? They can't do that. So I'll say this as well. I think it was completely valid to fire Gina Carano. When you are an actor in a big franchise, especially when you're employed by Disney, it is your job to not be controversial, to not cause controversy on Twitter. And Gina Carano was constantly causing controversy, whether it be poking the LGBT bear by, you know, like making jokes at the expense of trans people and stuff like that. You know, she was constantly being very political, causing controversy with her political opinions. According to Disney now, officially coming out and saying that, yeah, the thing that broke the straw of the camel's back or whatever was when she compared being a conservative in the United States to being a Jew during the Holocaust. Like, what? In what right mind are you making these kinds of comparisons? What are you doing? Why would you do that? And by the way, I didn't even notice this. When she gets to the point where she says, most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, right? So she's also like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge to like Holocaust revisionism, which I didn't even initially realize that until recently. I was like, Jesus Christ, Gina. So, I don't know. I think it was valid for Disney to fire her because she was very controversial. And people will also bring up like, oh, well, Pedro Pascal tweeted controversial stuff as well. And I'm like, well, has he been tweeting controversial stuff recently? Not really. My guess is that Disney had a conversation with Pedro and they were like, hey, Pedro, can you stop being unhinged on Twitter? And he was like, you know what? I like getting paid millions of dollars. That's okay. I'll not be controversial. And Gina Carano just didn't want to do that. So I think that I don't know that it'll get thrown out because Elon Musk is funding her case. So she probably has really good lawyers, but I don't think in any universe Gina Carano actually like plays Cara Dune again. I think that ship has long sailed. But anyways, let's actually move on to our final story of the day. So, X-Men 97 is currently out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But they put out another trailer. Now, I didn't see the trailer. Oh, by the way, that wasn't an image from X-Men 97. That was an image from the animated series. I haven't seen the new trailer just because I'm like, I'm watching the show. I'm already sold on the show. I'm going to continue watching the show. I don't need to see another trailer. But there was an image in the trailer that I figured I'd show you guys, and it is of Captain America's shield. So yeah, it looks like Captain America is going to show up in X-Men 97 at some point. I think we have 5 episodes left. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so Captain America was in the original animated series. He showed up for an episode with Wolverine. It was back during World War II. It was like a flashback episode. So yeah, I think that's super cute actually. I'm curious to see what role Captain America is going to play in X-Men 97. I'll be curious to see if it is like another flashback episode or if we see Captain America in the present day. I think that could be cool as well. Let me pull up the image again. I don't know. It's like snowy. There's like a cabin there. Something about this image kind of... I can smell the World War II. So I do think that... I don't know. If I'm going to make a prediction, I think it'll be another World War II episode. But I could be wrong. We shall see, though. All right, now let's get into what I've been watching. So, I watched X-Men 97, Episode 5, and... Guys, this show is absolutely incredible. And this episode might be the best one. I think I might still give the edge to Episode 2, just because, like, the whole Magneto court scene is so incredible, but... it's a battle between episode 2 and episode 5 now. I don't even want to spoil it. All I'll say is that all of the relationships come to a head in this one. We get a lot of genuine, like, emotional moments between characters, and the events that unfurl in the latter half of the episode are stunning, to say the least. They are epic. They are tragic. I did get teary-eyed watching this episode, and I mean, oh my god, like, this show is just so good. I'll tell you what, man. The live-action X-Men has a lot to live up to now. Like, beforehand, they had to live up to the fucking Fox X-Men movies, and it's like, oh yeah, that's like a layup. Surely the MCU movies are going to be better than the fucking Fox X-Men movies. Although, granted, I admit that a lot of people hold, like, X2 and Days of Future Past in, like, super high regard. I think those are good. I don't think they're, like, amazing or anything like that. X-Men 97 is, in my opinion, it is the best piece of X-Men related media ever. Logan is up there for sure, but I don't know. I might still give the edge to X-Men 97. I just think that the writing is so exceptional here, and the animation is so top tier. The characters are so great, and I just even a little bit more than Logan, I'm just so impressed that they were able to take from what I consider to be not an amazing show in the original animated series, because by the way, I recently watched that show in order to get ready for X-Men 97. The way that they managed to completely improve upon that show in virtually every aspect, while still holding true to the original tone of it, but modernizing it, but still keeping the spirit of it. It's unbelievable what they're doing here. Because, like, Logan kind of went like, yeah, we're just not even gonna, this isn't a fucking X-Men movie, we're just doing it completely our own thing. And that's great, and I respect that, but this is very much X-Men the Animated Series. It's just better in every respect. And yeah, episode 5 is incredible. Just watch the show. Watch the show if you haven't. Get to episode 5 if you haven't seen it yet. I don't even, like, I know people can just skip to the next segment, but I don't even like it. Just watch the show. Just watch it. Anyways. Let's get into the last thing here. I also watched Fallout episodes 1 through 3. So, I am not a fan of the Fallout games. I've just never played any of them. So it's not that I dislike them. I've just never played them. And I started getting excited about the show when I watched the trailers, because I thought the trailers were very good. And the show absolutely lives up to the trailers. I think that the show is beautifully crafted, right? All the set design and the makeup and the CGI and whatnot. Like, the show looks very expensive. You can tell that Amazon spent a pretty penny on this. All right, they're gonna be wanting that tax incentive for season 2, and I think it totally comes together in the end product. The basic premise of it is that there was a nuclear fallout, and the show takes place like 200 years after nuclear fallout, and so we're just in a complete post-apocalyptic situation and scenario, and there's like mutated animals, there are mutated people, society is just completely fucked. Like there is no society, there is no like government structure really. I mean, there are like various factions, I guess, but really there's no there's no government structure. It is the Wild West out here. And one of our main protagonists, this is a character named Lucy. she's what's called a vault dweller. So she's like a descendant of when the nuclear fallout happened. There were vault dwellers that basically they tried to create their own. Well, like their mission was, we are going to go into our vaults and we are going to hide out for literal generations in order to preserve American culture and American society by living in these vaults. And once it's safe to come up, we're going to come back up and we are going to reestablish American culture and society. And so that's who she is. She's like a second generation American in vault dweller, where she lived her entire life in the vault. And you know, I don't want to spoil too much, but she goes out into the wasteland for reasons and stuff and things. So a big part about of this is her, who's lived in the vault her entire life, going out into the wasteland and seeing what what the world is really like. So that's a really great aspect of the show. Then you have this other character, Maximus, who he's basically a part of what are called like the Brotherhood of Steel, who are like they're kind of like this military organization who are also, they also feel like religious zealots. It's interesting where it's like they feel like middle-aged religious zealots and like monks or whatever, but they don't worship any particular god. They're just really into technology, and they find meaning through the preservation of technology of the old world. It's very interesting. I really like his character and that stuff as well. And then there are three protagonists. The third one is this guy called the Ghoul. He's a guy that was actually alive before, you know, the nuclear fallout. And he's just, I guess, due to the radiation, the way it mutated him was he's just like this undead zombie guy. You know, that's conscious, you know. But he's just been alive this entire time. And he's a really cool character as well. So, yeah, we basically follow these three different characters, and I'm really into the show. I think the world building is excellent. I think it's genuinely fascinating. I think the characters are all super interesting, and they're flawed, of course. And I'm really into it. I definitely recommend it. So yeah, I'll keep watching it. Hopefully, I'll have finished it by next week, so that I can have my full complete thoughts. But yeah, 3 episodes in, really into it. Check it out. I would say my biggest complaint is that even though I said the show looks really good, there are a couple moments where, like, because like there are these big CGI creatures. There are a couple moments where it's a little wonky with them, where the Brotherhood of Steel, they have these like mech suits that they get into, and in these suits they're like fighting like a mutated bear, and it's like very slow and weirdly animated. So I will say there are a couple moments where the budget kind of falls a bit flat, but for the most part, it looks stunning. The show does. So, hey guys, it's gonna be it for this episode of Nerdy Movie News Roundup. Let me know what you thought about any and all that we talked about today. I'd love to hear from you. Please, for the love of God, subscribe to the channel. What's the matter with you? Like the video. Also, check out my main channel where I post edited, higher effort content. If you want maybe a more coherent review of Fallout, you can go watch that video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.